Welcome to episode 224 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have a great guest, returning guest, Patrice Brend'amour. You're back on the show. Thanks for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Winter is definitely coming. Yeah. I got my hot water bottle here.
Keep you warm.
Also, keep me warm. Also, saving up some on energy. You know, this year is especially in Europe, but I think in the entire world. If you can save some money and save some gas and stuff, never a bad idea.
I'll be attending a wedding this weekend, so I had to do this early because all the festivities are starting later today. So we are recording this show.
Oh wow!
At early morning here in the Chicago area. Mm-hmm. But I'm so glad I was able to have you come back on the show and join us. And we've got lots.
Just literally finished work 10 minutes ago. It's it's a complete madhouse right now because we have our quarterly planning next Tuesday, and of course nothing is ready as always.
As always.
When is it ever?
Same with us. So, but
it's always the same.
Let's talk about some fun stuff. Apple. We got lots of news to go here, talking about some updates and get some tips and some new things happening here. But let's just jump right into the news for this week. First story was Apple SIM is no longer being activated on new cellular data plans for iPads. This was introduced. This was introduced in 2014. The Apple SIM was designed to allow iPad users to activate cellular plans from multiple carriers around the world. Initially, the Apple SIM was a physical nano SIM card, but it was embedded inside in later iPad Pro models. So I'm not surprised this is happening, because now you have to go to the carrier if you happen to still have an older iPad that needs a SIM card.
Yeah,
everything's eSIM.
I mean, it was kind of the predecessor to eSIM. That's how it started. I mean, Apple started with the Apple SIM, and then they embedded it, and then they made the eSIM. So it kind of made sense. I mean, you don't really need it anymore. No. Now you can, on a phone or on a cellular iPad, you can literally just go in and say add carrier plan, and then you get a selection. You don't need the eSIM really.
No. So
or go to your carrier, so get an eSIM.
Yeah. So. As the article says, you have to go now. You'll have to go to your carrier if you want to continue to use your older iPad device to get a physical SIM.
If you still need a physical SIM, that's it. But if you want for the newer devices that have eSIMs,
should need it.
Nothing. Don't need it.
Should need it.
Yeah, made sense. I mean, it was a cool idea. I mean,
it was
to do it that way. Something very Apple-like. I've used it a couple of times. It was quite handy.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was definitely something good here. So, then next story here, as our time has continued to go and evolve with the iPhone, Apple added this past week another iPhone to the obsolete and vintage list. That is the iPhone 6. The iPhone 6 is because it was released in 2014 along the 6 Plus. They had already done the 6 Plus, and now the 6 is now going to be the vintage list. So what it means? It means you can't. You're not. It's going to be hard to get repairs. It doesn't going to work. And we're already end of the life as far as iOS goes. I believe iOS 14 is the only one that works on there now.
I think 14. Yeah.
So, but there'll be some. People out there still want to continue using it as they can. So.
For sure. I mean, they're great cameras for webcams, with camo and so on. Exactly. I mean, this is not a 6 anymore, and I have a 7 here. That's probably the next. No, actually, next year will be on the vintage list.
Yep.
But it makes sense. I mean, it's a typical thing. You get repairs as long as Apple still has parts. Right. They usually, if you bring it in and they still have the parts, they'll fix it. But there's no guarantee anymore. They're not keeping the parts around.
No.
Whatever they have, and after that, you have to find someone else. But there are a million third-party stores that will repair it for years to come, as long as they can get parts from even third-party manufacturers. They'll fix it.
Even that, you could find a lower priced model if you want to have like you said, the iPhone 7, which actually is end of life this year because the iOS 16 will not install on the iPhone 7, 8 or higher.
Correct.
It's it's been good. I have the 6 Plus, so
can't afford their new phones, or don't want to switch, or I don't know, it's a kid's phone, or it's good enough for them. There are a million reasons to keep them. They're still good phones. Just because they're on the vintage list doesn't mean they're bad phones. So yeah, as I said, they're for the next couple of years. I don't think you have a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't have to worry. Next story: Gmail and the Google News app was updated to add iOS 16 lock screen widgets. I thought this was a good deal. The version was just released this week as we record, and you now have a 1x1 circle or a 2x1 rectangle, and the top single line widget is is available as well, which is awesome. And the article says about time. This is good. I mean, I think the screen with the lock screen widget is a little limited to what you can put as far as widgets as it is anyway. So I decided I was getting really frustrated because I had the Apple stock on there for a while, and I'm like, the stock keeps going way down, but I think it's come back up. But I can't watch this anymore, so I switched it to the Gmail, and it shows the one line. It's kind of small, but it works.
Insider tip: never put any stock on your lock screen or any widget. To be honest, like don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
weather.
Don't watch it. Like, it's gonna go up. It's gonna go down. Like, it's never gonna be any good for you.
But
so
good to see.
Put something fun there, like the weather.
Good to see Google's continues on adapting.
Yeah, I mean, late as always, but
as always,
better than nothing.
And then Apple this week celebrated reaching 100 million songs on Apple Music. Apple today celebrated reaching this milestone of 100 million songs, and commented on 2 areas about it. With the invention of iTunes and the debut of the original iPod, where we had all the 1,000 songs in our pocket and 100,000 that were on the Apple Music. It's just incredible where that has gone, and there some statements that come through as far as just the human curation, which is the big thing with Apple Music compared to Spotify and others. I think is really what is great about Apple Music. So it's great to see. I mean, I'm like, I remember the days I still had my old hard drives filled with MP3s that I downloading.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Extra. Back in the old days, and why do you bother anymore? You can go to, of course, BitTorrent and be really crazy and look for music, but why? I'm already paying for Apple Music. I have 100 million songs at my fingertips at this point. I think this is great news.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it took way too long to get to this point, but we eventually got to this point where it's like it. I mean, I'm not sure it's a positive thing in all aspects.
Yeah,
because some of the artists have rightfully so complained about it, and they make a lot less money sometimes. But yeah, it's from a consumer perspective, it's great.
Yeah,
like
I think Apple's
essentially almost, I would say, it probably killed like all the torrents and so on. Because,
pretty much, it's a waste of time.
I mean, there's probably still people doing it for whatever reason.
There's still news. They're still using that out there. I mean, people still downloading off news groups. So.
Yeah, but but most people are probably like, I mean, I can subscribe to Apple Music or to Spotify for. Right. I think the cheapest would be like $4. I think for students, $5, something like that.
Right.
And let's say $10 for everybody else, and you get everything you want. Like, no matter what you want and how often you want it, like, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You got it.
Exactly. So it's it's a good thing. I think they've done great things, and the human curation. I think they've, every time I get into this mood to listen to music, and I was like, oh my god, they've done these great playlists, and you don't have to think about everybody. You look at my bookshelf here. I have every Billboard and books from Joel Whitburn was who passed away recently, and all his books.
Now,
why do you need them?
All we need is, what is it called? Spotify, the year review thing. What is it called? I always forget.
Yeah, I know.
Where you see like, okay, these were your top artists and songs, and how this is how much you listened and all of that. We need that, Apple, please.
Yes, we do. But keep going with Apple Music. We know we like it. Then Apple did release a new MagSafe charger firmware this week. They updated the firmware to the MagSafe charger, which is designed to work with the iPhone 12 and later, and the AirPods Pro 2. The new firmware is version 10M 1821, up from a prior version. know that in the settings app, you'll see different version than the firmware number and the update is displayed. And, nobody really cares about this, honestly. But I know they just quietly over the air update it. You don't really, they never provide any release notes. We have no idea what it's fixing, or it could be software, it could be hardware, who knows. But just thought I'd note it.
I'm sure I'm not the only person who is like, wait a second. The MagSafe charger has firmware.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. I mean, kind of makes sense. Like, I mean, what doesn't have firmware these days? But
yeah, exactly.
I was a bit surprised. I thought it was like a coil and some magnets, and that was it. Nope, it does have firmware.
Yeah, absolutely. Then last story here I wanted to just briefly mention here is Apple executives did talk about the iPhone 14 Pro's dynamic island in a new interview. It was with a Japanese magazine. And they pretty much pointed out that the major change 5 years since the iPhone 10 came out, that we lost the home button, and then it's fundamentally reviewed various iPhone methods and operations, how to switch apps. And I think really that's what really, in a nutshell, this interview they said is just dynamic island is just amazing the ways, and this is something that really people are really enjoying. I'm enjoying it because I just I discovered this last night. I was sitting watching a TV show on my Apple TV, and I didn't realize that the Apple TV goes the remote and all the access to the show that you watch goes up into the dynamic island, because I use my cable company. I got rid of a cable box and did it from our cable, and I could just tap dynamic island, and there's the remote, and I can stop play, and I can fast forward through commercials, and and it was right there. So I mean, I think there's just more and more. Dynamic island is just a pretty awesome thing.
It is, and it's one of the surprising things. Like, I mean, when people saw it, like most people were kind of like making fun of it, and kind of it kind of sounded silly. Once you have it, it's just so great. Yeah,
it really is, and I'm hoping to see more. And I know third-party app developers are going to be starting to do more and more with it. So, and then who knows what will happen next year? You got the iPhone 15; it'll probably expand upon to the rest of the models, and then I see that it's so popular.
Let's make the entire phone at the name.
Yeah, so we'll put it all on the island. Put it all on the island. So that's some of the news for this week. Let's hit the topics. First thing I want to talk about is Apple is preparing for another update to iOS 16. Right now we're on 16.0.2. They are saying there are more bug fixes that have to be done following the iPhone 14 launch. So the .3 version is supposed to be coming out soon. But this has been like 2 weeks now because like they said, like the article is saying, it's unclear when Apple is actually going to release this, and I don't understand why. I mean, we're on beta 4 now of 16.1. We'll talk about in a minute here, but the biggest pet peeve I have right now is CarPlay. I'm really frustrated because, and I noted this in the show notes here is. I continue to have problems with the phone when I'm making phone calls to my wife or friends when I'm in the car. They're like, "What? I can't hear you. What?" Because apparently the volume is just so low. I've not listened to it firsthand, but they just can't hear me. I was like, God, why is that something silly like that? Could be a bug. And no one's really
making. Did already test this?
Yeah, did you test this? I mean, I don't. And I haven't really seen a lot of big deals made of it. Like one article a couple weeks ago, which I've included here as well. But
1601 was a bigger deal because it was kind of fixing bricked not bricked phones, but like phones that couldn't activate.
That too.
So that kind of made sense. But yeah, it's the normal process to have that. Yeah. I don't know why this is taking a while to release. Maybe there's some issue that they have to resolve but can't, and so they have postponed it. But honestly, 16.1 is not ready. So, that's the other question. 16.1 supposedly is coming out this month.
You would hope,
but it's nowhere near ready, to be honest. Like I have so many little issues still. Federico Fitici is talking about iPadOS.
That's still waiting.
Yeah, it's like iPadOS and what's the feature called?
It's Stage Manager.
Stage Manager. Yeah, I always forget, like, between all the stages and managers.
I know. I got confused on the metro last week.
Yeah, it's like I mean, this is a never ending issue with Stage Manager working, breaking, whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's a normal process. If these are the biggest issues that we have, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is there is a workaround. Unfortunately, you have to disconnect from CarPlay and just use your car's Bluetooth connection. As soon as I do that, it works perfectly. So I have I
have to reboot my phone every now and then. So
yeah. Oh well, yeah, because you're on beta. But I have one of those wireless CarPlay devices. I think they're called Carlin, or I forget the name of them. That works great, and at first, I mean, even the first versions of iOS 16, it was giving me a heck of a time connecting, but now I think it's finally fixed itself. But yeah, I can just unplug it from inside my dash there where the connector is, and then it just switches right to the standard Bluetooth connection. So then they can hear me fine. So I guess I'll have to just manage.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully Apple has the fix ready soon.
I hope. So speaking of iOS and iPadOS 16.1, it is in beta 4. That just came out this week as well. And I believe iPadOS is at beta 10, if I'm not mistaken.
9 or
10, one of those two. And so a lot of things going on with that, with like we mentioned, Stage Manager for the iPad. Live activities were added for support for that, so you can interact with notifications. Feature lets you keep an eye on things happening in real time in your lock screen. So you're saying your experience so far has been a little buggier than normal.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's buggier than more normal. It's just a normal amount of bugs that you expect in betas. Is it especially I'm not using Stage Manager, so I can't tell you anything about it, but I see the threads from Federico like all the time on Twitter. I've had quite some issues right now with the iPad, especially where like Safari completely freezes and you just have to kill it, or it sometimes recovers after like a minute or two. Yeah. I have to sometimes reboot the device because nothing is working at all. Like the touch is not responding at all anymore. Things like that. So it's, my point is, I mean, it's a beta, so I'm totally fine with it. I'm not complaining that it's doing that because I know what I'm getting into. Yep. I'm just saying it's not ready. No, I agree. And the big thing with Stage Manager with iPadOS 16.1 was the fact that there was lots of controversy that the fact that originally Stage Manager was only going to work with an M1 iPad Pro. Well, it's going to expand out to the other iPads, the iPad Pros and the iPad Air. It should work on those as well. So that was a big standout as far as that goes. But more to come. We'll see. We'll see where things go with beta. Nothing else too terribly exciting. I have mentioned that they seeded the fourth version of watchOS 9.1. Nothing exciting there, unless I don't think you've seen anything. Nope. And then tvOS, of course, is never anything terribly exciting. Sometimes I wonder whether they even added any features whatsoever, or it was just, okay, we did an iOS beta, so let's do a tvOS beta out of that, because it's kind of the same system. I mean, notable things I've noticed in tvOS 16 in general is the fact that, multi-user support is great. They added that, the personalized spatial audio when you're using your AirPods, then the accessibility improvements. And I really like what they've done, as I mentioned earlier, with working in Dynamic Island as well as working within the Home app. They've really made some vast improvements. I think that's a combination of the tvOS and the Home app, but it's really more streamlined and works much better, honestly. I've got which is good. I mean, that's what it should be. Yeah. Like, I'm just saying there's no flashy. No. I mean, is that sometimes I wonder, like, sometimes I have to think really hard whether they did anything in iOS 16. Yeah. Because it was basically, it was basically, okay, we did this on iOS. Okay, we also did it on tvOS. Yeah, you kind of have to wonder. Yeah. So beta will continue. We'll find out what happens next week. So, next topic here. This has been quite the debate this week. Lightning versus USB-C. The
the EU announced a new law that iPhones must be USB-C by 2024. An article in the show notes, I'm linking that. I agree with it in some senses because you want to really make it more universal. But, I think we've had this debate, you and I, and we've had it on other shows too, with the fact that, Lightning is over 10 years old. Apple continues to keep it, and really only the iPhones have it, and then one iPad, but that could potentially change if the new iPads.
And a million other, not a million, but like quite a few
and
other
the older
devices,
right? Right. So.
Well, no, I mean, there's also your HomePods, your AirPods.
Right. AirPods need that.
I think all of them cross the thing. I mean, all the way up to the Max, as far as I remember, has Lightning. I think some of the Beat stuff has it. I think.
Yeah, I have a link in the show notes here from Macworld here. It's talking about the iPhone, the iPad, AirPods, charging case, so the AirPods Max. There's another one. Got a Magic Keyboard. Don't even get me.
Oh yeah, Magic Keyboard.
Trackpad. Don't even get me started with the Magic Mouse, where it has to be in the bottom. Yes. Old EarPods. Think about that. You've got the old EarPods that were changed to Lightning after they got rid of the headphone jack. That was in 2016, and then the Power Beats Pro. Those were. Yeah,
as I said, I just remember there was some Beats that had it. So yeah, there's a lot of devices, and it's not as simple as just switch it.
Right.
I'm with Christina Warren on this one.
Yeah.
We had the discussion. I'm with Christina. Like she said, she likes a USB-C, but standardizing on it it has a lot of problems.
It does.
I think someone on Twitter said, "Oh, I wrote an entire book just about the different kinds of USB-C cables."
Right.
It's like, but standardizing on it is not it makes no sense. And I still maintain it's the wrong move. It's like the least of our problems right now. And my prediction stands. Next year, it's completely wireless.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We may see a wireless type charging, but then you have to wonder.
Not just charging and wireless communication. Yeah. So I said it. Like we saw, I think last year or the year before, we saw some FCC filings for Apple for like wireless, like short, like basically. Yeah, kind of like MagSafe, but like short distance communication on a device,
right?
With high bandwidth, and I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, it seems like it, and even with the USB-C confusion and Thunderbolt, you got that put that into the equation. It's just even more confusing.
Oh yes,
Apple sells $159 Thunderbolt 4 cable. I was in the Apple store the other day. I was like, I forgot about that. I'm like, oh my god, I spend that kind of money on a cable. But
well, some people do.
They do, and it's got a lot of throughput, very fast connection, and it's and it can be used as a USB-C cable as well. But it's the more design.
I think that's the point. Like it's the cable that you buy when you don't want to think about cables.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, it does everything, and it does everything to the max. So let's get that one.
Yeah, OWC and a lot of other retailers, sellers that they sell those Thunderbolt 4 cables to a little more reasonably priced. But
about half the price, I would say.
But I would agree. Yeah, I feel more comfortable. Like when I hook up my USB Thunderbolt 3, Thunderbolt 4 hub from OWC that has the the Thunderbolt cable. So you've confident. And I've bought extra Thunderbolt cables that are.
I have to buy one.
Yeah, there's lots of them. But I even noted here in the show notes here that the simplifying of the branding of USB in general. Article here from Tidbits. Glenn Fleischman wrote this. They're just doing a fresh, simple look focused on data rates. Okay. So we've got USB 20 gigabit is coming out in USB 40 gigabit. And this article actually shows a nice diagram showing the different cables. And then that's the problem with these cables. You can't, it's so impossible to identify them. You got to, let me get my magnifying glass out to look at what's on the cable.
If there are any markings at all.
Exactly. Because he's showing these cables, it's showing 40, 20. That's the new standard of the certified speeds. And and then you go all the way down, and there's still people still using USB-A to this day. So I mean, they have the USB-A 3.2 that's still out there, and those connectors. And we have adapters that go between USB-A to USB-C, and
I'm pretty sure a lot of people are using USB-A because of these, like the Apple charging, like the Lightning to USB-A. I mean, that was until like, what was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
That was the standard. 3 years ago, that was standard, and I have a million of them, and they're everywhere. So I think everybody's. I mean, for charging only. But
I pull out my little case. I have about 20 cables sitting here, all Apple cables. Yeah. But they have the USB. Yeah, exactly. Because they have the USB-C to Lightning, because that's being supplied in all the iPhone boxes now.
And they're much faster.
No power brick, of course. But
same for the Apple Watch, by the way. Yeah. If you use the USB with the new Apple Watches, if you use the the provided USB-C cable, it charges much faster.
Much faster, yeah. So those you still have the USB-A ones, it's going to be a lot slower to charge. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, I agree with you. Apple's been very resistant to it. We all complain about how slow Lightning is. If you want to transfer something with a cable, I mean, we're doing everything in the cloud now anyway. So, I mean, I think I kind of agree with you that I think wireless is going to be something we're getting close.
Yeah. But it will be more interesting what Apple does on the other devices, because that's one thing that is not talked about that much. The EU is also mandating it on headphones, for example, and on some other devices. I mean, eventually also laptops and so on, and like MacBooks. But MacBooks have it already, so that's not a problem. Right. But like the next, there I could definitely see it at the next AirPods Max, the next whatever, like the next Magic Trackpad and so on. All of them will go USB-C charging.
USB-C, yeah, it would make sense. Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Because there they can't do wireless. I don't think they want to do wireless. So I mean, don't know. With the AirPods Max, they could do some fancy wireless charging.
Yeah, definitely. So
it's Apple.
A couple things I wanted to talk about in relation to the iMessage. I'm so excited. Two things I'm excited about is the fact in iOS 16 they did add the capabilities of finally being able to edit a message that you mess up on. And I'm gonna actually do a demo once I do a presentation at an Apple user group with two phones. I want to actually see it happen when I make the change on one phone and look at the other phone. If it happens, because I don't know. You never know, even though you're changing it. You don't know necessarily if the recipient is going to see the change, but it's a
they will see the change. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, because macOS is not, if you're not an Ventura, you don't get the editing yet.
Right.
It just shows you a message was edited to, I think, or something like that. It was edited. I don't know. Patrice edited to something like that. And then it shows you the new text basically. So you get it. Like, it's just not as nice and fancy, but you get the message and you see that it was edited.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the other thing is the feature of reporting junk. I think that was awesome that they added that, and
sorely needed.
And it's a great thing, but it's also sometimes, oh wait, I didn't want to do that and have to report junk. So I have an article here in the show notes that talks about potentially, did you want to be able to turn that off? And the answer is no, you can't. But you do have to. You do when you tap delete. You delete the message, and then it's going to pop right up and ask you, okay, do you want to report this as junk? Or when you swipe, to the left to tell it to delete, it's also going to give you that option, and it's going to just basically add it to your junk numbers. So I mean, as we know, those numbers change all the time. So you're just still going to get them. And
they're fake anyway.
They're fake, so. And there's been such a rash of messages lately. This is for me, I've been getting a ridiculous amount. I know this time in the United States, it's election season here with the midterms we're voting for our governor and others. So they're sending a lot of junk that so I am a registered voter. You got my number and you're texting stuff here. So basically, like we said, whatever happens is it's just deleted, and it becomes if it's from an unknown number, your iPhone will send the message deleted to Apple. Actually, I think it is, as well as your network carrier. So they are sending it. So there is something that's going besides you just putting it into your blocked numbers. that it is going out to them to report the junk, which is great. And I like to see that Apple is actually working and not working with the carriers, because I mean all the carriers have their own spam, anti-spam. T-Mobile has theirs, and who I use, and then AT&T and all your carriers have it.
The problem there is that what they can do is somewhat limited, because from a legal perspective, there's a limited set of features, limited things they can do, and I think that's what is it the FCC? I think the FCC, is trying to change, to say, okay, we need to do more, and we need to also have more options available. What you can do if someone is doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad to see this. I think it's something that was something that was sorely needed, because it was such a pain. You just delete them and you just, they're gone, but then you're getting another one. So hopefully it's going to start curbing them once this really goes out for a while here, because it's going to take a little time here. So next discussion I wanted to talk about here is the AirPods. I'm sporting the AirPods Pro 2 that I'm using here as we speak, and you did not get a pair yet, right?
No, not yet. I'll get them probably for Christmas or something. I'm in no rush. I have the AirPods Pro. They're working fine. Yeah. I've heard from you and from others good things. Yeah. But I'm like, it's not one of those purchases that I have to do day one.
No, I pulled the trigger a little quickly.
It's like, might as well just order another thing. Right?
So one thing to know about it, because these were getting a little wonky when I first started using them. They still do. They kind of go into weird sounds, sounding like in a chamber. Right now, you sound okay, but it just gets kind of weird. But there is ways that you actually can reset the AirPods. I put an article in the show notes describing how to do that. And the way to do it is you actually can go in, and it tells you to put the AirPods inside the case for at least 30 seconds. You lift the lid of the charger, and then if it's connected, you can go to the settings, and then you pick that AirPods, and then you can say forget this device. And what it does is it actually forgets the device across your entire iCloud account. Because cool thing about adding AirPods to your iCloud account is it works across all devices: your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad, and all the devices. So it sees it in the list automatically in the Bluetooth settings. So you just actually go ahead and remove it, and then it also says you can go into the back of the case. Of course, the case has the sync button. So you just push that button, and it will go ahead and reset it as well and close it out.
That's sometimes helpful when you have issues with iCloud. Like I've had that happen once or twice, where like something happened and they were not correctly in iCloud, or they were in iCloud, but I couldn't remove them. I don't remember, but that button was the savior. Just completely reset them and then start over, and then it works again.
Yeah, I think from time to time, and
it's easy.
It's very easy, and this applies to all AirPods. Go from first gen, second gen, and third gen, as well as the AirPods Pro and the AirPods Max. You could do that with them as well. So helpful information when it comes to AirPods, and I still stand by what I've said, and I think they sound really good. I know I've seen some reviews. I believe Mac Rumors did a review of comparing the new Bose earbuds, and he definitely said that the AirPods do have a much better, cleaner sound. Surprising, because they're Bose. You think they're good, but so they did some comparisons. I can't judge since I didn't hear them, but based on the reviews, I like the AirPods. I've been very happy with them. So.
Yeah, I think in this case, whatever. The differences are probably not vastly different. Yeah. So whatever you prefer is probably totally fine.
Just take a listen to them.
Like I know people who buy whatever $70 like noise canceling headphones, and they're totally happy with them. Right. Totally fine. Use whatever.
Anchor is just releasing some new ones. They're really cheap, and people are saying they've got some really good sound to them. So.
I've had a pair I bought for family, and they're totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Next topic here, as we record, the iPhone 14 Plus is finally coming out, and they announced the new iPhone 14 back last month in September. So this is the new entry-level model. Then Apple is finally releasing a model that has the larger size screen, the 6.7 inch, just like the Pro Max is. I've always had the max versions of the models, probably going. I mean, I've always had the large size models, I should say. Going from this, I think it started with the 6 Plus, and it worked its way, down. I've owned every iPhone since then. I probably shouldn't say that, but I did. But I think we all are crazy with our technology. But I love the I love the iPhone, and I'm on the upgrade. I'm on the training program, so why not? Why not? So finally, they now have a more affordable version, so you don't have to have all the bells and whistles of the Max. I mean, I'll have to say you're not going to get dynamic island. You're not going to get the great cameras. You don't have the telephoto lens, but you are getting the benefit of having the larger size screen, which I think a lot of people are going to be. Yeah. I have this feeling that this model is going to sell really well.
Yeah, you also don't get the newer CPU and so on.
Right, it's got the A15 still, which is but.
I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't care about that. Like we care, and there's like a certain group of people who care, and that group seems to be rather large when you see like how well the pros apparently are selling. But there's a lot of people out there that just they want a big phone for some reason or another, but they don't care whether it has the latest features, latest and greatest. They don't want to spend the amount of money that the Pro would cost, and they were probably either not upgrading at all or we're very hesitant at least to do it. And this is a way for Apple to address that and say, hey, there's a device for you. And like people who might have just stuck with their old phone might now upgrade because they're like, okay, like there's a cheaper version that has a big screen and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I'm just thinking the 10 hour, the 10 hours, for example.
Yeah, that's what I have here as my camera here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would be a pretty natural upgrade path from the 10R to the Plus.
You would think, yeah, you would think this is a natural upgrade. So the 10R is a great, it was a great iPhone. It really is. I mean, I've been using this as my webcam now, and it's still a great phone, iPhone. So, so the colors are going to be pretty good selection here. You got the blue, the purple, the midnight. You have the starlight, and then you have the product red. In the iPhone 14,
you get actual colors.
Yeah, you do. So there's a little more color selection.
not just 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, there you go. So they do give they give you some selections here. So and you go from 128 to 256 on the 14 Plus. So folks who get the Pro Max, I did with 256 as I didn't think I needed a ton of space, but you need that in order to be able to use the 48 megapixel and the high-end cameras, which the Plus doesn't have. So I think this is going to be a perfect device for the folks that want just a good simple iPhone, but has a much bigger screen.
Yeah, and the bigger screen. I mean, I know there's always a bit of a discussion about the screen size, but I know one group that would really enjoy that. And that's like if you get older, like your eyesight is not as good and you want to increase the like font size. With a bigger phone, you can make it much bigger. And that's for anybody who has any vision impairment or anybody who's older and just needs it like bigger. That's a big benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. So put your order in if you haven't already, but I have this feeling it's going to be at least a month to 6 weeks out before you're going to get it because I think stock was limited. I was in the Apple Store earlier this week as we record, and they obviously didn't have them yet because they hadn't been released. So I was curious to see it, but it's like I have to go back and look at it. But check it out. Check it out for sure. Next topic I wanted to talk about is the lock screen. Have you been having fun with the lock screen?
A little bit. I'm still. I mean, I've had it for a couple months.
Right, because you're beta.
I'm still in the phase of figuring it out, like very slowly, because I want to figure out. Like, I mean, I've used some widgets, but I'm honestly, I'm not looking much at my lock screen, so that's not super important for me. But the focus and the switching of the lock screens, I'm very much into, like having different backgrounds and so on. So I'm still figuring things out, but I can tell you one thing. My favorite background is the weather background because it's always showing like the current weather basically. And like it's dynamic and I just enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I actually have the Earth one, which I like because it shows the light and what time of day it is. and then it has the dot exactly where you are on the Earth and where you're located.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
It's really cool, and you actually can change it down to. Let's see, if you go to customize, then you can go Earth, or there's also an Earth detail which will zoom into the continent you're on. And then
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, what I said, Apple has done.
And you got you have the moon and the moon detail, and then the solar system if you so wish. Shows the solar system. The moon's kind of cool too. But that's what's so cool about it. And I think a lot of people like that you can make some fun customizations on it because it makes a lot of fun. One thing I didn't know we found out this week is there is a limit, and I kind of laughed when I saw the number. It's like, who the heck?
Who tried that?
200 lock screens on your iPhone? Really?
Yeah. Who tried that?
I'd like to know who tried that, honestly.
And I think per lock screen you can have 50 backgrounds or something crazy. I put a link in the show notes to the article here. I talked about it, and it's like, I asked the question, why care? Not it's imposing a ceiling. How many cost? I mean, I'm lucky if I have 4. I know 200. I think that's somebody that has way crazy. I think Apple always puts limits into things, and I think that makes sense. Well, I mean, I remember, I don't know what the limit for home screens is, but there is a limit for home screens. Right. Stuff like that. It just makes sense to limit things a little bit and make sure that it still works properly. Because I mean, something you can't forget is that the software in the background has to manage all of them, all 200, and has to somehow keep them in stock when you want to switch to them and whatever it does. And so knowing that it's less than 200 versus, it could be 1 million. Because some crazy person decided to create 1 million of them, is probably a good thing. And 200 is even 200 is way past what I would think is reasonable.
Yeah.
Like 50 would already be crazy. 10 is okay, but 50 is already crazy to me. So 200 is way beyond that. But some poor person tried that.
Yeah, no, I agree. So just briefly, I'll talk about some of the things like the wallpapers. Some great new wallpapers that you can add that goes into the catalog here. You can change the font and different types of fonts for the time and the widgets, which is great. The people, as it suggests, you can actually bring up images of people that you've photographed, as well as a new depth effect that lock screen supports. So you see a depth effect of that, which is really cool.
I mean that's really cool. Like it can put if you have a photo of a person, it's kind of portrait or whatever, it puts the person in front of the time, for example, or in front of the lock screen content. So that looks really cool. Yeah,
absolutely. So the customizations are quite endless, and I'm really like I said, I mentioned the time customization, and you mentioned the weather app that's in there. I think you want to switch to Earth one, really, because I think it's a lot more fun to look at.
I would try that.
Because the weather app, it just shows clouds at the top here. If it's cloudy or if it's raining, it sees the rain. But it's kind of plain.
I like that. When it rains a lot here. So when it's raining and you see the raindrops falling down and so on, it's so calming. I'll try the Earth one.
Yeah,
that sounds cool.
And the color, you actually have color screen wallpapers. You can pick your own color as a background, which is cool. So they've done some really good things with the customization, and some people like doing it, and others, you got the rainbow. That's great.
I love the rainbow.
Some people like other things, and that's what's great about it. You can customize it to the way the way you like it. So and
you can the cool thing is you can tie that to focus modes, and that also is an easy way, which I just accidentally triggered because I switched to another home screen. That can also trigger the focus mode. So you can switch your home screen, and that triggers another focus mode that you're in, work and whatever. So that's also cool.
And therein lies why you have the multiple home screens, because you can, if you're bored with the one, instead of what we've had to do in the past is go in and change the wallpaper, and now you can just swipe it, and then you're at your wallpaper you like. So it's some great stuff.
Like Apple Watch faces. I mean, I don't know how many I have, but I have probably 10 or so.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's definitely interesting as far as that goes. So, next thing I want to talk about here is I did go to the Apple Store this past week because I I probably shouldn't admit it, but I'm going to. I have. It's been a year since we've had the AirTag, and the AirTags are coming up off the batteries are starting to since they report that they're weak.
Mm-hmm.
For the life of me, I could not get that thing open. I'm pushing.
I had the same problem. I'm trying with nails.
I'm trying with nails. Yeah, I'm pushing it. With my thumbs. It just wouldn't budge. One of them I got it to open. I was like, oh, cool, it worked. Mm-hmm. But I have a feeling it's because both of these AirTag were on my keychain, so they're in my pocket all the time. So maybe in time they might just get kind of frictionized. So I bring it. I set up a Genius bar point message. I'm thinking maybe it's broke. I can't replace it. Well, and so the guy says, "Well, I'm gonna let's try. I can open it before we put it in through the system. I'm one of the techs, and so he goes there." He opens it right up. I'm like, are you kidding me?
He's probably done a million.
Yeah.
Of them,
so then I had him do the other one. He opened it right up. So I had brought the new battery. So I replaced them. I'm going to have you put them back on. And then one of them, he had a little tough time getting it back on. So I think, when it's in your pocket and then maybe get lint and stuff that gets in it, and it didn't work. So, but as while I was there, I had to try on the Apple Watch Ultra, and I'm going to have a picture of my wrist on the show notes. I have it next to my Series 7 as a picture. Oh my gosh, that is a beautiful watch. It really is.
It's also massive.
It is.
Every photo I see, I'm like,
I have it in our show notes, so if you're looking at the picture. But I have a pretty big arm, but actually I have a pretty small arm for being a big guy as I am.
And on your arm, it looks actually quite good. Like it's a good size for your arm. Yeah. Like for me, it'd
be massive. But really nice. The bands were really nice. The one I'm wearing, I have the yellow one, which is just a base little buckle that you pull in. But then the green one, I forget what they call it, but it's got the hook where it just pulls through, and then it hooks onto the little. There's little notches, like cloth notches.
Yeah, I think isn't that the one for hiking or climbing or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
It's the outdoorsy one. Yeah.
But
the yellow one, I think, was the one for swimming.
But I mean,
diving.
I really like it.
Something.
Do I want it? Yeah. Do I need it? No.
No.
I'm very happy with the Series 7. I didn't upgrade to the Series 8, so it's been working really well. So
I'm super happy with my 8. Like I'm honestly, every morning I'm super happy. Like the battery life of the 8, I came from the 6, so that's probably one of the reasons. The battery life of the 6, like I use it all day. I do like exercises every day. I use it really. I do sleep tracking, and in the morning, pretty consistently, I have about a third of the battery left. And I charge it, and with the USB starter, that's how I discovered USB-C charger is better. It used to be. I mean, I would basically like put it on the charger, get ready, and start working, and then like whatever 2 hours later, it would be ready. It's ready when I'm back at my desk. Like I go in the bathroom and get ready, whatever, and I come back and it's charged.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a great watch. And the Ultra has exactly the same features.
Right.
And then some.
And it has a much larger battery in the Ultra, and people were saying it was lasting sometimes 2 days or 2.5 days where you had to charge it, which is great. But I just $800.
It's 1,000 euros.
Yeah. So
like I saw starting price 1,000 euros. I'm like, no.
One thing I did find here as far as a feature on the Apple Watch, I have a note here in the show notes, is the compass has a new feature that I wasn't aware of that you can use to backtrack and retrace your steps. So you can backtrack using the GPS on your Apple Watch to create a virtual breadcrumb trail of your route, so you don't have to worry about keeping track of where you're going. And it says, according to Apple, Backtrace is designed to use in remote settings away from familiar surfaces like your home or workplace. It's kind of cool. You open up the Compass app, you tap the footprints icon, and then on the bottom right of the screen, tap Start to begin recording your route. And then...
As someone who has gotten lost...
You've used this.
On a hike in desert in Arizona, I definitely, it wasn't super lost. I think I would have found back, but like I got a little lost at least. And but that's super helpful.
Yeah. So I thought that was
you're out on a hike and where everything, like I said, Arizona is a good example for that because like every mountain and everything looks the same kind of. It's like everything is kind of grayish, brownish, whatever. It's like, okay, where the hell am I? I mean, I had still my GPS, and there was phone service still for some reason, so I was fine. But if you don't have that, if you're whatever in Colorado in the mountains or something where there's nothing, good luck.
Yeah,
and this is great.
Absolutely. So check out. I have a show. Like I said, I have a couple pictures and show notes. I like it, but just not my budget. I want to talk a little bit about the always on mode on iPhone 14 a little bit here. Does it drain your battery, or do you find it helpful? I decided to turn it off, and I have a link in the show notes to the support article about the always on display. Because I have noticed that the battery does go down a little faster. At least it seems like it has been on the 14 Pro Max versus the 13 Pro Max for me anyway. But I know it's something that's really cool and being just like it is on the Apple Watch. But I also noticed the Apple Watch on my 7. I've been using it since early this morning, and it's already down to 87%. So I know that's not. I still has a lot of battery life left for the day, but. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of crazy thinking I might go back, turn it back on, and see where it goes. But are you using it? What are you thinking?
I'm using it. I wouldn't say I'm using it. It is enabled. Let's put it this way. As I just said earlier, I am not looking at my phone all that much, or at my lock screen all that much. So I'm the queen of defaults. I usually run a lot of things in the stock configuration. I don't know why. I just don't care about certain things, and then I never go in and change them. Like that's why probably one of the reasons it took me a little while for the lock screen customization. Even I have it enabled. I mean, it's not crazy that it uses battery. Like sure, the phone, like even if it's a little bit, the screen is on.
Yeah.
So. But I might turn it off. I might not. Like this, it's not a big issue for me. I don't have any issues with battery life. If I had, I would turn it off.
Okay.
Because that is one way. I mean, you can also just enable low power mode. That I think I did that in the beginning. There was, I think, probably a beta issue that the battery was draining quite fast.
Okay.
So I did turn on low power mode once because I was going to Vienna, and I did one charge in between. But I have it on, and it's fine.
Okay. And your battery life's not okay. So I'm gonna keep an eye on it, and if I decide I want to turn it back on, I can check it out.
I mean, after what is that now? About 11 hours, I have 70% left.
So you're good. Yeah, so you're in good shape.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
You're definitely in good shape. So.
Yeah, and I use my phone all the time. As I said, I don't look at my lock screen a lot. I use the phone a lot. So that's different.
Yeah.
And I mean, by the way, one trick, like if you don't want to disable it, but you don't want to see it, turn the earphone around.
That's true.
Because it will disable the always on when it's upside down, or when you have an Apple Watch and you walk away, for example. Like it actually knows that you're not close to your phone, and then it disables it as well, stuff like that.
Right.
So it's actually quite smart, like figuring out. It also learns how you use your phone, so it might turn it off when you don't need it.
That's true. So yeah, I might go back and revisit it. But we have a link to the support article from Apple on the show notes to talk about it a little further. And let's.
It's not super. The issue I have with it is I don't think it's super useful. Like with the limitations of the lock screen widgets, it is not a super useful feature so far.
Yeah, I didn't find it, so we'll see. Yeah. Next thing I want to talk about here a little bit is some of the new features that are going to be coming out to iOS 16 later this year. They did release a bunch of them already, but there are 10 new features that aren't there, and I believe they're going to be part of most of the features are going to be part of iOS 16.1 when it comes out of beta here. So the first one was iCloud shared photo library. I think this is kind of a fun thing that's going to make so much easier to share. I remember when I was doing my remodel of my kitchen, I wanted to share, I was doing time-lapse photos of all the progress. And it was just such a pain to have to share the library I created to family members. Do they have an iCloud account? Is it set up that way? So now it's going to be so much easier to actually just go in and add up to 5 other people and add, and each one of them will be able to add and edit the photos, so you can collaborate on the photo library. So if they want to add, like if you went on a trip, then maybe they have photos and you took photos, and so I think this is going to be great. A great thing they're going to have. I'm sure you're going to find it useful.
Oh, for sure. I mean, for trips, I don't have family that I could do that with, but with friends, like, I mean, we go on hikes and we
family,
go
friends,
to Vienna and whatnot, and like we can just like we take photos and we want to share them, and like right now it's done. Okay, you go into WhatsApp and you manually share them into WhatsApp chat, and this is easier. Just create a shared photo library, and it kind of even automatically happens.
Yep. Couple other features I'll go through just real quickly. Here's the live activities for the third-party apps. I'm looking forward to that because I like, especially I'm a sports fan. I like to see the sports scores and such on the fly. If I want to have that set, that's going to be there. We talked about the emergency SOS via satellite. It's not going to be something that's going to be too terribly exciting for anybody unless you are doing some heavy hiking and traveling in remote areas. I think they are going to let people actually do a test and try it before you leave. They said that so,
supposedly.
So you won't be able to. You won't call emergency services and cause problems. So I think that's going to be interesting. For those of you who like classical music, of course, Apple had bought Prime Phonic, I believe it was called. That was the classical music service, and they kind of haven't done much of anything with it. But if those of you who like classical music, I think that's going to be some of the cool things.
They have said they're bringing out a new service, but they have not done anything else so far.
Yeah, that's true. And then Fitness Plus, you're now going to be able to do it without an Apple Watch. So those of you who don't have Apple Watches, you'll now be able to do your workouts just having an iPhone or Mac or an Apple TV. I
thought that was always possible, but somehow I think I misremembered.
Yep. And then the battery percentage icon, everybody was such up in arms about that one. We already have it now. I believe that was added already in 16. It's in because I have it on 16.0.2 because I have it on here. So unless it was just specific,
the icon was there in 16.0, but the
certain models.
Also that the show when it drains, like I think in 16 it's always showing full,
right?
And just the number.
It still is, right? You're right.
And then 16.1 it actually you see it draining.
It's draining. Okay, and the numbers there just kind of see the white kind of.
It's like a lighter. It's a white and a lighter gray.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have it, but the 10R, as I have here as the camera, didn't have it, and this one's running. This is running the beta 16.1, so it does have it now. So that's great. So but there'll be more others. We'll definitely be talking about it as time goes on here, as far as the new features go, and I think it's something that it's going to be pretty exciting here. So. But with that, let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. It's been a great show. I know we already had so much fun. We'll keep going.
It was like so many. We did so many topics and so much fun as always.
I always amaze you by for coming up with all these great topics.
Totally. Like I still don't know. Like this is some special like kung fu magic stuff. Like how you do that.
But we got all the topics we hit for this week. So. Well, there'll be more. There'll be more next week. So, but for now, that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is at feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at intouchwithios. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. Please become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming on our YouTube channel, which is usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursdays, but we were early this week because of scheduling conflicts. But the YouTube channel is at youtube.com/intouchwithios. You also can watch and listen to all the past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics that we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Memir, Pocket Casts, Overcast, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsberg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. Patrice, it's so great to have you on the show. I always love having you.
Yeah, and, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It was fun.
It was always fun. And please tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, I'm with you on the British Tech Network every Friday on the Mac Show. By the way, also today, as we're recording this, Thursday evening, 7 p.m. UK time, for the big show where we talk about the non-Apple stuff. That might be interesting for some people, like tech but not Apple. Everything I'm doing, like all the projects, the social media, the podcasts, if you want to buy me a coffee, I mean, for sure, give like Dave some money, but if you don't have like a few cents left, like give it to me. All of that you can find on thepatrice.com. And if you want to listen to some really cool people, including Dave, he was a guest. I have an interview show called Foodie Flashback where I interview really interesting people about their like food memories and stories and just everything that goes with it.
Awesome. Thanks. And thank you for listening. We really enjoyed doing the show, and I hope you enjoyed listening. And we'll talk again soon.